Hello again. Like most people in the United Kingdom, I'm aware that the official statistics relating to immigration are wildly inaccurate. The Office for National Statistics have now admitted this, saying that they have somehow mislaid more than 1.5 million immigrants in recent years. In 1 year alone, that ending in March 2019 for instance, we are told that 186,000 people from the EU arrived in Britain. Now they've admitted that it's all been a terrible mistake. In fact, it was 410,000. More than twice as many. I give a link to a newspaper report about this in the description to this video. I find myself at a loss to know if this is simply the usual inefficiency of large bureaucracies or whether there might be a slightly more sinister explanation. As a rule, when I see this kind of thing, I assume that laziness and stupidity are more likely to be to blame than conspiracies or government cover-ups. But this is rather a different matter. We are not talking about complicated figures which need to be sifted through carefully and subject to detailed analysis for things which most of us hardly even understand, like standard deviations and so on. It's merely a question of counting people coming in and those going out, and then finding the difference between those two numbers. In other words, all that is required is simple records and then doing a takeaway sum of the kind which any school child should be able to do. Let's see how all this was done over a century ago before there were computers and modern technology. On February the 8th, 1911, the then Home Secretary, who was Winston Churchill, was asked by an MP how many foreigners entered the country the previous year. There was a lot of concern about the rising numbers of people arriving in the country from Eastern Europe. Let me quote Churchill's reply. According to the returns received, the number of aliens who entered the United Kingdom in 1910 was 610,776. The number who left the United Kingdom, 597,506. And the difference between the two is 12,270. These figures include, of course, visitors, transmigrants, sailors, and many other persons who are not immigrants and are necessarily subject to numerous corrections and qualifications. Two things strike me about that reply. The first is that this is precise. No question of about 150,000 or anything of that kind. The second thing which stands out is how quickly this was all collated. These days we have to wait a year or two before being given statistics of that kind. In 1911, the Home Secretary had them to hand only 5 weeks after the year had ended. In other words, he could tell 5 weeks after the year had ended how many foreigners were entering the United Kingdom and leaving it. Remember that everything was written down by hand in those days and posted to different offices, but it was still a damn sight faster and more reliable than today's system. I give a link above to the exchange from Hansard, the official record of parliamentary proceedings. The thing which makes me incline to the view that the current confusion about numbers is deliberate is that working out how many people are entering and leaving the country, how many foreigners that is a very simple sum to do. I've been reading this morning about all the various complicated modelling entailed in working this out and the various methods used today, but this looks to me like a way of muddying the waters. If it was possible 110 years ago to say within a few weeks how many foreigners were entering and leaving the country, then I strongly suspect that it is even easier today. That we are told that it is a difficult procedure which even trained mathematicians get wrong sounds to me like a typical piece of evasiveness. In this case, I smell an attempt to mislead us on purpose rather than by accident.